As you said, Manny, EZZ is dedicated to improving quality of life and human health. Next slide, please. Please note our safe harbour statement. Next slide, please. We develop, manufacture and distribute a range of health supplements, probiotics and functional foods. All of our products are developed scientifically, some in conjunction with universities here in Australia and New Zealand. All of our products are manufactured in Australia under GMP, which is Good Manufacturing Practice, and all of our products are registered with the TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration in Australia. All of these elements contribute to the fact that if someone buys and consumes one of our products, they can be assured that they are very safe. Next slide, please. Just an example of some of our key products. Our EZZ range of products, which I mentioned, are manufactured here in Australia. Our three top products by revenue in the first half of FY23 were our NMN capsules, our lysine growth capsules, and our bone growth chews. We are also the exclusive distributors in Australia and New Zealand of the Aeron range of skincare products. And their top three products by revenue is the hyaluronic acid collagen hydrating face mask, the hyaluronic acid collagen essence, and the instant brightening face mask. Next slide, please. We have extensive bricks and mortar distribution channels, as well as a growing e-commerce channels. In terms of domestically, Australia and New Zealand, we have 600 plus chemists, 130 plus specialist retailers, and 200 plus grocery retailers. And you'll note from this slide some of the key pharmacy distributors for our products here in Australia and New Zealand, being Chemist Warehouse, Priceline, etc. Internationally, we have over 7,500 supermarket and specialty retailers, and our growing business through our e-commerce partners. Internationally, you can see some of them here. Our key e-commerce partners are Alibaba's Tmall, TikTok, which in China is Douyin, and Taobao and others. But our growing e-commerce business is the key to much of our growth through our Asian markets. Next slide, please. We've been very fortunate to have made some key achievements, especially with our e-commerce partners in recent times. We're the #1 best-selling nutrition and food product in the last 30 days on Douyin, which, as I mentioned, is the e-commerce platform for TikTok in China. And you will note there on the slide, we are very much one of the key best-selling supplements for children throughout China and parts of Southeast Asia. Next slide, please. We are very much focused on growth, and I'll talk about that a little later on a slide. We are continuing to identify and launch new distribution channels, both domestically in Australia, but also internationally. In Australia, we've recently started with both Amazon and eBay. Internationally, I mentioned Douyin, but we also have recently announced a major distribution agreement with HIC, which is an Australian-based, member-based e-commerce platform into China. We're continuing to expand into new international markets. Our key international markets at present are China, Hong Kong, and Singapore. We've recently partnered with our first distributor in Vietnam, and we are looking at further expansion into Southeast Asia and just beginning to look at other international markets in Europe. We are very focused on new product development. we have, we utilise an exclusive consumer insight program that allows us to look into the future at what consumers in this expanding health supplement market are looking for. We then develop those products using our science-based partners and bring them into the distribution channels. We have a very strong cash position, as you'll see in some future slides. We have no external debt, and we will continue to focus on exploring M&A opportunities, as well as establishing our own manufacturing facility here in Australia. Next slide, please. Just some highlights for our first half of FY23. Our revenue was up substantially on 22. Our EBITDA up substantially on the first half of FY22. As of 31st of March, we had $13.8 million cash on hand with no external debt. A very pleasing element is the growth in our gross margins. We are continuing to grow our gross margins through the management team, looking at key supply chains. Our net profit after tax was 1.3 million, which you can see was up substantially from the first half of FY22. And we paid a dividend back to our shareholders in the first half of FY23, as we did in FY22, and we will continue where we can to give dividends back to our excellent shareholders. Next slide, please. This is just the highlights of our financial performance for Q4 FY23. You will see that cash on hand has grown again, close to $14 million. Receipts from customers, strong again in the fourth quarter of FY23, and our operating cash flow is also still very strong. Next slide, please. We were very pleased to have been named in the Fin Review's Fast Global, their 50 fastest growing companies on the ASX. EZZ came in at 41st with a growth rate of just over 30%. So we're very pleased with that, and we will continue to grow our business, and we really are, Manny, a hidden gem on the ASX. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. You certainly are, and congratulations on what looks like a very strong financial performance over the last certainly the last quarter and the previous financial year. Some questions. There's one around the dividend. So you've just touched on that. You've paid a dividend, which I think your shareholders will be very, very happy with. What is the board's approach to dividends going forward? Do you have a particular methodology, a criteria which you apply to come to what that dividend's likely to be? Can you give some colour around that?
Yeah, we've been asked this question before, Manny. No, we don't have any methodology. We as a board just look at the half yearly and then the final year results. As you know, and as you saw on our slides, we are very much cashed up. So where we can, we will look at delivering dividends back to our shareholders. But there's no full methodology. We just look at it case-by-case basis.
Okay, great. Another question for you here. With regard, you also touched on this, but you are continually developing new products. So it sounds like you've got a fairly sort of busy pipeline of these opportunities. Can you elaborate a little bit on what we can expect to see first out of that pipeline in the not too distant future? What specific type of sort of product? What area is it in? Can you give us a little bit of colour on that?
Yeah, being an ASX listed company, we have to be a little bit careful in what we say.
Okay.
But the health supplements market is growing at over 15% globally. And it's very much a growth industry. Our management team know this market as well as anyone. You know, they know this business intimately, and they know the markets we deal in as well. We will continue to look at, you know, the key areas we look at are around healthy aging and weight loss. And we're focused on two key disease states at the moment, being HPV, which is human papillomavirus, and HP, which is Helicobacter pylori. We're doing some fairly extensive R&D with the University of Auckland, looking at the effect of NMN on in HPV. So we are really morphing into, in some ways, a more traditional life science company where we'll look at genomics and look at our research programs to develop new products that fit our profile, but really are in many ways looking at healthy aging and weight loss.
No, that's. I think we get the message, Glenn. I know you can't go into too much detail. You don't want to get into trouble, but I think you've kind of, you know, we can understand from that where those products are most likely to come from, what particular area. That's great. One last question for you. Mergers and acquisitions, sort of M&A. You did also say it is part of what you and the board perhaps look at on a regular basis. You know, are you seeing many opportunities out there for EZZ on the M&A front? You know, are there some obvious ones? You don't have to obviously give us too much detail, but you know, are there quite a few? You know, some that are looking interesting for you?
Yes, there are. We've looked at a few over the last several years. To further grow our health supplements business, there are opportunities. We're looking at several at the moment. One thing I can say that we announced to the ASX some time ago was we are interested in the field of stem cells, and we are looking at some M&A opportunities in that area.